Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Chapter 13. Suta Uvacha Nishamya Kausharavinopavaarnitam Dhruvasya Vaikunta Padhadirohanam Praruda Bhavo Bhagavatyadokshaje Prashtum Punastam Vidurah Prachakrame. Suta Goswami, continuing to speak to all the rishis headed by Shaunaka, said, after hearing Maitreya Rishi describe Dhruva Maharaja's ascent to Lord Vishnu's abode, Vidura became very much enlightened in devotional emotion, and he inquired from Maitreya as follows. Vidura uvacha kete pracetaso nama kasyapatyani suvrata kasyan vavaye prakyataha kutrava satramasata. Vidura inquired from Maitreya, O greatly advanced devotee, who were the Prachetas? To which family did they belong? Whose sons were there? And where did they perform the great sacrifices? Manye Mahabhagavatam Naradam Devadarshanam Yena Proktaf Kriya Yogaha Paricharya Vidhir Harehe. Vidura continued, I know that the great sage Narada is the greatest of all devotees. He has compiled the Pancharatrika procedure of devotional service and has directly met the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Swadharmashilaif Purushair Bhagavan Yajna Purushaha Ijyamano Bhaktimata Narade Neritah Kila. While all the Prachetas were executing religious rituals and sacrificial ceremonies and thus worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead for his satisfaction, the great sage Narada described the transcendental qualities of Dhruva Maharaja. Yasta devarshina tatra varnita bhagavat kathaha mahyam susrushave brahman kasnyena chashtumarhasi. My dear Brahmana, how did Narada Muni glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead and what pastimes were described in that meeting? I am very eager to hear of them. Kindly explain fully about the glorification of the Lord. Maitreya uvacha Dhruvasya chotkalaf putraha pitarih prastite vanam sarvabhaumashriyam naichad adirajasanam pituhu. The great sage Maitreya replied, My dear Vidura, when Maharaja Dhruva departed for the forest, his son Utkala did not desire to accept the opulent throne of his father, which was meant for ruler of all lands of this planet. Sajanmanopashantatma nissangas samadharshanaha dadharsha loke vitatam atmanam lokamatmani. From his very birth, Utkala was fully satisfied and unattached to the world. He was equipoised, for he could see everything resting in the supersoul and the supersoul present in everyone's heart. Atmanam Brahma Nirvanam Pratyastamiti Vigraham Avabodharasaikatmya Manandamanusанtatam Avyavachinnayogagniri Dagda karma malashayah Swarupamarundhano Natmanonyam tadaikshata. By expansion of his knowledge of the Supreme Brahman, he had already attained liberation from the bondage of the body. This liberation is known as nirvana. He was situated in transcendental bliss, and he continued always in the blissful existence, which expanded more and more. This was possible for him by continual practice of bhakti yoga, which is compared to fire because it burns away all dirty material things. He was always situated in this constitutional position of self realization, and he could not see anything else but the Supreme Lord and himself engaged in discharging devotional service. Jadandabhadironmattam Ukakrutiratanmatihi Lakshitah patibalanam Prashantarchirivanalaha. Utkala appeared to be less intelligent. Utkala appeared to the less intelligent persons on the road to be foolish, blind, dumb, deaf, and mad, although he was not so. He remained like fire covered with ashes, without blazing flames. Matvatam jadamunmattam krutavrudha samantrinaha vatsaram bhupatim chakrur yaviyam sambrame sutam. For this reason, the ministers and all the elderly members of the family thought Utkala to be without intelligence and in fact mad. Thus his younger brother, named Vatsara, the son of Brahmi, was elevated to the royal throne, and he became the king of the world. Svarvir Tirvatsaras Yeshta Bhayar Bharya Suta Shadatmajan Pushparnam Tigmaketum cha Ishamurjam Vasum Jayam. King Vatsara had a very dear wife whose name was Svarvikti, and she gave birth to 6 sons named Pushparna, Tigmaketu, Isa, Urja, Vasu, and Jaya. Pushparnasya prabha bharya dosha chadve babhuvatuhu pratar madhyandinam sayam itihasan praspramasutaha itihasan prabhasutaha. Pushparna had 2 wives named Prabha and Dosha. Prabha had 3 sons named Pratar, Madhyadhinam, and Sayam. Pradosho Nishito Vyushta iti dosha sutasrayaha Vyushtas sutam pushkarinyam sarvatejasamadhade. Dosha had 3 sons, Pradosha, Nishitta, and Vyushta. Vyushta's wife was named Pushkarini, and she gave birth to a very powerful son named Sarvateja. सचक्षुः सुतमा कूर्त्यां पत्न्यां मनोमवापः मनोरसूत् महर्षिविर्जाङ्ग्वला मनोरसून् महिषी विरजान् नड्वलासुतान् पुरुं कृत्सं त्रितं द्युम्नं सत्यवन्तमृतं व्रतम् अग्निष्टोममतिरात्रं प्रद्युम्नं शिबिमुल्मुखम्. Sarvateja's wife, Akuti, gave birth to a son named Chakshusha, who became the sixth Manu at the end of the Manu millennium. Nadvala, the wife of Chakshusha, Manu, gave birth to the following faultless sons: Puru, Kutsa, Trita, Dhyumna, Satyavan, Rita, Vrata, Agnistoma, Atiratra, Pradyumna, Shibi, and Ulmukha. उल्मुको जनयत् पुत्रान् पुष्करिण्यां षडुत्तमान् अङ्गं सुमनसं व्यातिं क्रतुमग्निरसं गयम्. Of the 12 sons, Utkala begot 6 sons in his wife Pushkarini. They were all very good sons, and their names were Anga, Sumana, Khyati, Kratu, Angira, and Gaya. Sunitangasya ya patni sushuve vena mulbhanam yadyauhi shilyatsa rajarshir nirvinno niragat purat. The wife of Anga, Suniti, gave birth to a son named Vena, who was very crooked. The saintly king Anga was very disappointed with Vena's bad behavior, and he left home and kingdom and went out to the forest. Yamangasheshu kupita vajramunayah kila गतासोस्तस्य भूयस्ते ममन्तुर्दक्षिणं करम् अराजके तदा लोकाद् अस्युभिः पीडिताः प्रजाः जातो नारायणांशेन पृतूनाद्यः क्षितीश्वरः. My dear Vidura, when great sages curse, their words are as invincible as a thunderbolt. Thus, when they cursed King Vena out of anger, he died. After his death, since there was no king, all the rogues and thieves flourished, and the kingdom became unregulated, and all the citizens suffered greatly. On seeing this, the great sages took the right hand of the Vena as the churning rod, and as a result of their churning, Lord Vishnu, in his partial representation, made his advent as King Prithu, the original emperor of the world. Vidura uvacha tasya sheelanide sadher brahmanyasya mahatmanaha rajñah katamabhu drushta prajayadvimanayayau. Vidura inquired from sage Maitreya, "My dear Brahmana, King Anga was very gentle. He had high character and was saintly personality and the lover of Brahmanical culture. How is it that such a great soul got a bad son like Vena, because of whom he became indifferent to his kingdom and left it? Kim vam hoven uddishya brahmadandamayuyujan dandavratadhare ragni munayo dharmako vidaha. Vidura also inquired, how is it that the great sages, who were completely conversant with religious principles, desired to curse King Vena, who himself carried the rod of punishment and thus awarded him the great punishment, Brahmashapa? Navadyeyah prajapalaha prajabhiraghavanapi yadasau lokapalanam vibhartyejah swatejasa. It is the duty of all citizens in a state never to insult the king, even though he sometimes appears to have done something very sinful. Because of his prowess, the king is always more influential than all other ruling chiefs. Yetadakyahi me bhadran sunītātmaja cheshtitam shraddadhanaya bhaktaya tvam paravaravittamaha. Vidura requested Maitreya, my dear Brahmana, you are well conversant with all subjects, both past and future. Therefore, I wish to hear from you all the activities of King Vena. I am very faithful devotee, so please explain this. Maitreya uvacha angoshvamegham rajarshir rajahara mahakratum ajahara mahakratum na jagmurdevatas tasmin nahuta brahmavadhibihi. Sri Maitreya replied, my dear Vidura, once the great king Anga arranged to perform the great sacrifice known as Ashwamedha. All the expert Brahmanas present knew how to invite the demigods, but in spite of their effort, no demigod participated or appeared in that sacrifice. Chamuchur vismitas tatra yajamanamathartvijaha havim shihuyamanani nate grunhanti devataha. The priests engaged in the sacrifice then informed King Anga, O king, we are properly performing the clarified butter. We are properly offering the clarified butter in the sacrifice, but despite all our efforts, the demigods did not accept it. The demigods do not accept it. Rajan havim shyadushtani shraddhaya saditani te chandamsyayatayamani yojitani drutavrataihi. O king, we know that the paraphernalia to perform the sacrifice is well collected by you with great faith and care, and it's not populated. Our chanting of Vedic hymns is also not deficient in any way, for all the Brahmanas and the priests present here are expert and are executing the performances properly. Navidameha devanam hevalam vayamanvatvapi yenna gruhnanti bhaghan swan ye deva karma sakshinaha. Dear king, we do not find any reason that the demigods should feel insulted or neglected in any way, but still the demigods, who are witnesses for the sacrifice, do not accept their shares. We do not know why this is so. Maitreya uvacha ango dvijavacha shrutva यजमानः सुदुर्मनाः तत्प्रष्टुं व्यसृजद्वाचं सदस्यांस्तदनुज्ञया. Maitreya explained that King Anga, after hearing the statements of the priests, was greatly aggrieved. At that time, he took permission from the priests to break the silence and inquired from all priests who were present in the sacrificial arena. नागच्छन्त्याहुता देवा न गृह्णन्ति ग्रहानिह सदसस्पतयो भूता किमवध्यं मया कृतं. King Anga addressed the priestly order. My dear priests, kindly tell me what offense I have committed. Although invited, the demigods are neither taking part in the sacrifice nor accepting their shares. नर सदसस्पतयः ऊचुः नरदेवेह भवतो नाघं तावन्मनाक् स्थितम् अस्त्येकं प्राक्तनमग्मघं यदि हे धृक् त्वमप्रजः. The head priest said, O king, in this life we do not find any sinful activity even within your head, even within your mind. So you are not in the least offensive. But we can see that in your previous life you performed sinful activities, due to which, in spite of your having all qualifications, you have no son. तथा साधय भद्रं ते आत्मानं सुप्रजं नृप इष्टस्ते पुत्रकामस्य पुत्रं धास्यति यज्ञभृक्. O king, we wish all good fortune for you. You have no son, but if you pray at once to the Supreme Lord and ask for a son, and if you execute the sacrifice for that purpose, the enjoyer of the sacrifice, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, will fulfill your desire. Tata svabhaga deyani grahishyanti divaukasaha yadyajna purushah sakshad apatyaya harirvrutaha. When Hari, the supreme enjoyer of all sacrifices, is invited to fulfill your desire for a son, all the demigods will come with him and take their shares in the sacrifice. Tam stan kaman harir dadyat yan kamayate janah आरादितो यतैवैष तथा पुंसां palodayah. The performer of the sacrifices under karma kanda activities achieves the fulfillment of the desire for which he worships the Lord. Iti vyavasita viprastasya rajñah prajataye purodamsham niravapan shipivishtaya vishnave. Thus for the sake of the son for King Anga, they decided to offer oblations to Lord Vishnu, who is situated in the hearts of all living entities. Tasmat purusha uttastau he mamalyamalambarah hiranmayena patrena siddhamadaya payasam. As soon as the oblation was offered in the fire, a person appeared from the fire altar wearing a golden garland and a white dress. He was carrying a golden pot filled with rice boiled in milk. सविप्रानुमतो राजा गृहीत्वाञ्जनि जलिनौदनम् अवग्राय मुधा युक्तः प्रादात्पत्न्या उदारधीः. The king was very liberal, and after taking permission from the priest, he took the preparation in his joined palms, and after smelling it, he offered a portion to his wife. Sa tat pumsavanam ragni prashya vaipatyuradhaye garbham kala upavrutte kumaram sushuve praja. Although the queen had no son, after eating that food which had the power to produce a male child, she became pregnant by her husband, and in due course of time she gave birth to a son. Sabalayeva purusho matamaha manuvrataha adharmam shodbhavam mrutyum ne tena bhavada dharmikaha. That boy was born partially in the dynasty of irreligion. His grandfather was death personified, and the boy grew up as his follower. He became a greatly irreligious person. Sasharasana mrugayurvana gocharaha hantya sadhur mrugan dinan veno savitya raujanaha. After fixing his bow and arrow, the cruel boy used to go to the forest and unnecessarily kill innocent deer, and as soon as he came, all the people would cry, "Here comes cruel Veena! Here comes cruel Veena!" Akride kridato balan vayasyanalidharunaha prasahya prahasya niranurkroshaha pashumaramamarayat. The boy was so cruel that while playing with young boys of his age, he would kill them very mercilessly as if they were animals meant for slaughter. Tam vichakshya kalam putram shasanair vividhair nrupaha yadana shasitum kalpo brushamasit sudurmanaha. After seeing the cruel and merciless behavior of his son, Veena, King Anga pushed him in different ways to reform him, but was unable to bring him to the path of gentleness. He thus became greatly aggrieved. Praneyabhyarchito devo ye prajagruhamedinaha kadapatya dukkham yena vindanti durbharam. The king thought to himself, "Persons who have no sons are certainly fortunate. They must have worshipped the Lord in their previous lives so that they would not have to suffer the unbearable unhappiness caused by a bad son. Yataf papi yasi kirtir adharmascha mahanrunam yatto virodas sarvesham yata adhiranantakaha." A sinful son causes a person's reputation to vanish. His irreligious activities at home cause irreligion and quarrel among everyone, and this creates only endless anxiety. Kastam prajapadesham vai mohabandhanam atmanaha pandito bahumanyeta yadartah kleshada gruhaha. Who, if he is considerate and intelligent, would desire such a worthless son? Such a son is nothing but a bond of illusion, for the living entity, and he makes one's home miserable. Kadapatyam varam manye sadapatyachutam padat nirvideta gruhan marto yat klesha nivaha gruhaha. Then the king thought, a bad son is better than a good son because a good son creates an attachment for home, whereas a bad son does not. A bad son creates hellish home from which an intelligent man naturally becomes very easily detached. Evam sa nirvinnamanan rupo gruhan nishita uttaya mahodayodhayat alabdhanidro nupatikshito rubhir hitva gato vena suvam prasuptam. Thinking like that, King Anga could not sleep at night. He became completely indifferent to household life. Once, therefore, in the dead of the night, he got up from his bed and left Vena's mother, his wife, who was sleeping deeply. He gave up all attraction for his great opulent kingdom, and unseen by anyone, he very silently gave up his home and opulence and proceeded towards the forest. Vijnana-nirvidyagatam patim prajaha purohitamatya sudrugganadhayaha vichikyurvyamati-shokakatara yata nirudham purusham kuyoginaha. When it was understood that the king had indifferently left home, all the citizens, priests, ministers, friends, and people in general were greatly aggrieved. They began to search for him all over the world, just as less experienced mystics searches out the supersoul within himself. Alakshayantah padavim prajapater हेतोध्यमाः प्रत्युपसृत्यते पुरीं ऋषीन् समेतानभिवद्य साश्रवोऽन्यवेदयन् पौरव भर्तृविप्लवम्. When the citizens could not find any trace of the king after searching for him everywhere, they were very disappointed, and they returned to the city, where all the great sages of the country assembled because of the king's absence. With tears in their eyes, the citizens offered respectful obeisances and informed the sages in full detail that they were unable to find the king anywhere. Thus ends the chapter entitled Description of Descendants of Dhruva Maharaja. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.